You know, when we talk about global power, we talk about oil, we talk about territory, we talk about AI, but we almost never talk about the one invisible force that makes all of it possible: time. Not just the passing of days, but time measured in billions of a second. This is the story of the tiny tech that keeps that time and how a quiet $3 billion deal just changed absolutely everything.
Okay, let's really get into this. Every single piece of advanced technology. I'm talking about the Nvidia GPU powering an AI data center or the guidance system inside a hypersonic missile. It all relies on a tiny little component called a timing chip. Think of it like a digital heartbeat, an invisible metronome that makes sure every single calculation happens in perfect sync. If that heartbeat stumbles, even for a nanosecond, the whole system can just collapse. And then, in early 2024, a seismic event shook this invisible but absolutely critical market. Renesas Electronics, a Japanese semiconductor titan, announced a deal to transfer its entire US-based timing business to an American specialist named SiTime. Now, this wasn't just some corporate transaction. No, this was a strategic handover of the very pulse of the coming AI revolution.
So, how did this happen? Well, in this explainer, we are going to peel back all the layers. We're going to start with the tech itself, that invisible heartbeat. Then we'll analyze the players, a titan's calculated retreat and a disruptor's massive all-in bet. We'll ask if the deal was just too expensive, we'll dive into the geopolitical chess match of the chip-Cold War, and finally, we'll look at what this all means for the new beat of AI.
All right, first things first, let's get a handle on what we're actually talking about here. Before we jump into all the corporate drama and the global strategy, we need to understand the foundational technology that is sitting right at the center of this $3 billion deal.
So for the last 70 years, believe it or not, the entire digital world has run on quartz. Yeah, I'm talking about tiny, vibrating rock crystals that oscillate at a super precise frequency. But quartz has a problem. You see, under the intense heat and the constant vibration inside an AI data center or a 5G tower, it starts to drift. It gets jittery. And that's where MEMS or micro-electromechanical systems come in. Instead of using a fragile little crystal, MEMS clocks are literally carved directly from pure silicon. This makes them incredibly tough and stable, perfect for the punishing environments of modern tech.
And that brings us to our first major player, the seller, Renesas Electronics. And it brings us to the central mystery of this whole deal. If this timing technology is so critical for the future of AI, why on earth would a Japanese giant sell off such a profitable, high-tech division?
To really get their decision, you have to understand who Renesas is. I mean, this company is the backbone of the Japanese tech industry, born from the combined chip divisions of giants like Hitachi and Mitsubishi. They are the undisputed kings of automotive chips. Back in 2019, they spent almost $7 billion to buy an American company called IDT, and that's how they got this massive timing portfolio. The goal at the time was to own the whole system, the processor brain, and the timing heartbeat.
Now, let's look at the hard numbers of the deal they just cut. The total value is about $3 billion. But what's really fascinating is how it's all structured. SiTime is paying $1.5 billion in cash right up front. But Renesas isn't just cashing out. No. They're also getting over 4 million shares of SiTime's stock, which makes them a major shareholder. And, this is crucial, Renesas' CEO gets a seat on SiTime's board. You see, this isn't just a sale, it's a strategic realignment. With this one move, Renesas is hitting 3 strategic goals at once. First, they're de-risking. They get a huge infusion of cash to pay down debt from all those previous acquisitions. Second, they get to focus. Now they can pour all their resources into their main business, automotive and industrial chips. And third, they forge a partnership. They've turned a division they had to manage into a powerful alliance. It's like they don't own the factory anymore, but they own a big piece of the best factory in the world. Okay, so let's flip the coin and look at the other side of this deal, the buyer. This is where the story gets really dramatic. SiTime, the American MEMS pioneer, isn't just making a simple acquisition here. They are making a high-stakes, bet-the-company kind of gamble on nothing less than total dominance in the age of AI. And to understand the sheer ambition here, you don't need to look any further than the words of SiTime's own CEO, Rajesh Vashist, from their earnings call. He said, "This is a transformative moment. We are moving from being a component supplier to being the heartbeat of the AI data center,
I mean, that's not just corporate jargon. That is a declaration of intent to become as fundamental to AI as the companies making the processors themselves.
And this right here is why they're so confident. During that same call, a truly shocking number was revealed. The business that SiTime is buying from Renaissance has a 70% gross margin. Let that sink in for a second. In the brutal, cutthroat world of semiconductors, a 70% margin is, well, it's Nvidia-level territory. It tells you that this is a product that is so critical, so specialized, that customers have no choice but to pay a premium for it.
But a price like this comes at a staggering cost. To finance this deal, SiTime, a company that's not nearly the size of Renesas, had to go out and get a $900 million term loan from Wells Fargo. They are leveraging their entire future on this one acquisition. They are drowning themselves in debt because they believe that in the AI era, if you own the clock, you own the entire market.
So this all-in bet naturally brings us to the counter-argument. Because, of course, not everyone is cheering for this deal. In fact, a lot of financial analysts are sounding the alarm, arguing that this massive debt-fueled gamble could be the very thing that sinks the entire company.
So let's just ask the question directly, a question that was posed in a pretty stinging analysis from Simply Wall Street. Is SiTime paying way too much? I mean, while the strategic logic of cornering the market for AI timing is crystal clear, the financial burden this puts on the company is just immense.
Let's just look at the valuation. Silicon is paying $3 billion for a business that brings in about $300 million in revenue. That is a 10x price to revenue multiple. As you can see here, the industry average for this kind of deal is closer to 4 to 6 times revenue. They are paying a massive, massive premium, betting that future growth in AI will justify a price that, by today's standards, looks incredibly expensive. And it's not just about the financial risk, there's also the human risk. The team that Silicon is absorbing is used to being part of Renesas, a 20,000-person global giant with a really deep, ingrained corporate culture. Silicon is a fraction of that size, a nimble Silicon Valley disruptor. So the crucial question is, can they really integrate this legacy team without losing that innovative, fast-moving soul that made them successful in the first place? Okay, now we need to zoom out, way out. We have to look past the corporate finance and see the bigger picture. Because this deal, it isn't just happening in a boardroom. It's happening on the global stage, right in the middle of a new kind of Cold War, one that's fought with silicon instead of steel. This transaction is a textbook example of a concept called friendshoring. You see, the timing business was originally an American company, IDT, before it was bought by the Japanese firm Renesas. Now it's being sold back to a pure-play U.S. company. What we are witnessing is a key U.S. ally, Japan, strategically handing over a critical piece of technology to its partner to strengthen the domestic supply chain. This move perfectly illustrates the goals of legislation like the CHIPS and Science Act. The U.S. government has made it crystal clear. Critical AI supply chains must be brought home for domestic security. By moving this technology from a Japanese-owned entity to a U.S.-based one, the heartbeat of AI is now protected from international trade wars and global shipping disruptions. It ensures that this advanced dual-use tech, essential for both commercial AI and military applications, is firmly under American ownership. It's all about building a digital fortress. So we've seen the corporate strategy, the financial risk, and the geopolitical maneuvering. Now let's tie it all together and look forward. What does this consolidation truly mean for the future of technology and for the new beat of artificial intelligence? This timeline really shows the evolution. For decades, the world ran on quartz. Then, MEMS technology, pioneered by SiTime, took over for mobile devices. This deal marks the moment of consolidation, where one company now controls the best of both, the core technology and the distribution network. The next step, into the 2030s, is the Holy Grail: fully integrated system-in-package solutions where the clock is built right into the processor itself. So the crucial point is this: what looked like just another boring corporate press release was actually a multi-layered event. It was a $3 billion bet on AI, a calculated strategic retreat by a Japanese titan, and a key maneuver in the global fight for technological supremacy. On that day in early 2024, the invisible heartbeat of our digital world just moved houses. And all of this leaves us with the ultimate question. By cornering the market on the most critical component that nobody ever talks about, is SiTime positioning itself to be the next Nvidia, an indispensable giant of the AI era?
Or, burdened by immense debt and huge integration challenges, have they simply bitten off more than they can chew? The answer to that question will likely define the next decade of technology.